And we are back. Episode 326, The Cost of Almost Right. How small misses destroy trust, margins, and momentum. We have a kind of a belief system that either we're going to push you up or we're going to push you out. I don't want to be around 5 other people that aren't pushing themselves to succeed. Success isn't about taking, but giving value first. Compensation follows contribution always. This is true authenticity. It's the truth. Every week, this is our story. We share with you our journey. We share with you our scars.
Please welcome your host, Ty Cobb-Backer.
Hey, welcome back to Wednesday afternoon, episode 326 of Behind the Tool Belt. 326 weeks in a row. And there has been a few weeks there over the years where I was like, screw this, screw that, and screw everyone, because I am not up for the challenge. But we did her. We've done it. 326 of these buggers, and then some, and then some. So anyhow, today's title would be The Cost of Almost Right, where good enough sometimes just isn't good enough. And that's part of one of our core values. And we've been getting ramped up and geared up for this roofing season, and we've been having a lot of meetings and stuff. And I've noticed a lot of things, especially over the past several months, which I've shared with you guys, and not just necessarily over the last few months, but over the years of trying to perfect this thing. And it's virtually impossible. What worked last year is not going to work this year. It's already obvious. And I've experienced that many times in my career where, nothing seems to be very static. It's very fluid, and you have to learn how to adapt, change, adjust, improve, grow, stretch, bend, please, and sometimes even step on people's toes to make these things happen. But heavy is the head that wears the crown. And we all know that. But I think most roofing companies don't lose because of some giant catastrophe. I think they lose because of 1,000 little things, right? The almost right, almost got it, and where the estimate is, almost clear. The timeline is almost communicated. The crew is almost prepared. The customer is almost confident, and almost is where, profit leaks, trust erodes, and momentum dies, right? So today I want to talk about something that hurts more companies than big failures ever will. Okay. And that is the cost of being almost right. Most businesses are watching for disasters. From my experience, I constantly have my head on a swivel looking for these huge disasters, right? But they're obvious. The big, huge disasters for me are obvious. But what has snuck up on me is the small misses and the accumulation of all these small misses, right? The vague scopes, the half-ass handoffs, the text message that never got sent, the expectations that, were never clear or clarified. The homeowner who is not mad enough to complain, but not happy enough to refer us. Almost right feels safe in the moment, but over time, almost gets very expensive. So today, I want to break down where almost right shows up, what it actually costs, and how great operators eliminate them. Not only eliminate them, but collaborate on them. Find out what we've learned. We had a meeting yesterday. One of my questions during that meeting was, we had a little dose last week of what this season's going to be like. And I was like, so what did we learn? And I had to ask the question 3 or 4 times because I don't think they were picking up what I was putting down. But But what are we learning here? Every day is a learning experience. What can I do better today? Where did I drop the ball yesterday? Where did I drop the ball last week? And where can I pick up the pace? Where can I show up 5 minutes earlier? Where can I get a week out in front of my schedule for, next week? All of those things. And it's like we have to define those almost moments. Okay, those almost right moments, and my main point is almost right is not total incompetence. It's actually the dangerous middle ground where things look good enough on the surface, but they're not clean enough to scale. Right. And if you know anything about me, I'm all about scale. And just for an example, okay, the estimate was sent, but the homeowner still has questions. Salesperson closed the deal, but production did not get a clean handoff. And I'm speaking from experience, like none of this shit is made up. Crew shows up, but the customer did not know they were coming. And one of the areas that we've lacked is not having enough communication with the homeowner, not letting them know when we're coming. Job gets finished up, but final follow-up never happens. That can hold up money. COC doesn't get signed. We don't even know if the customer's happy. We send the pay-per-click. We're wondering for a month why they haven't clicked off on the thing. And we're thinking everybody has taken care of it, but no one actually showed up and took accountability of following the next step. Supplements was submitted, but no one owned the next step. The office assumed sales handled it. Production assumed the homeowner understood. Almost right creates almost trust, almost profit, almost loyalty. If you have ever looked back, okay, and I've done this, if you've ever looked back at a problem and thought, man, that should not have turned out into such a freaking mess. None of that drama should ever happen. Chances are it started out almost right. You didn't have the color selection sheet. You didn't follow up with the homeowner to close the deal enough, like whatever. And that's where I say, like, all of these little things, okay, add up. And it's this is why it's a dangerous problem. Okay. Big mistakes get attention. Okay. They're glaring. They stand out. They usually get fixed pretty quickly, but small mistakes get repeated. Okay. Big failures cause us to have meetings, make changes, retraining, policy changes, but small failures get rationalized. People say things like, I've done it. I've said it's fine. We got through it. It only happened once. That customer was difficult anyways. We've all said it. We've all heard it. It's all BS, literally at the end of the day. But that same pattern keeps happening in small ways, right? And what that creates, right, that our margins erode, team frustration, rework, customer confusion, more callbacks, slower cash flow, bad reviews, fewer referrals, leadership fatigue. I get burnt out. I know my team does. And almost right is expensive because it rarely shows up on one line item. It shows up everywhere. You don't feel the full cost of almost right in one job. You feel it across 50 jobs where almost right shows up in our company. And I would say in probably most roofing companies. Okay. That's what I have most experience in. That's what I'm going to talk about today is roofing companies. I'm going to start with sales. That's pretty good shit. It's good stuff. Got my water. Okay. So sales. sales. Rep goes out, he builds rapport, but does not fully set the expectations of the process. Okay. They promised fast timelines without checking reality. Okay. They sell the job, but not the process. Notes are incomplete. Scope is not airtight. Photos are missing. The homeowner feels sold, but not led. A sold customer is not always a secure customer. Okay. And then what that does, that trickles out into production. So crew does good work, but the arrival communication is weak. Okay. Materials are almost correct, but not fully verified. Cleanup was decent, but not memorable. Okay. Small details get missed because everyone is moving fast. I get it. Production does not lose trust only by doing bad work. It loses trust by creating uncertainty. I've seen it. I've watched it. I've been involved with it. I'm guilty of it. And that's why I want to discuss this today, because these are all things that we have and will probably continue to experience, but being aware of it, I believe, is 80% of the battle. Knowing that there are things that we need to improve upon, and like I had mentioned earlier, what worked last year is not going to work for us this year. I know that for a fact, because I know for a fact that what we did last year we're not replicating what we did last year. It's not going to be the same company. We're not going to be the same people. There's a few different individuals on our team. We actually have more people on our team. Why? Because we're preparing for a better year this year, because we want to scale. And that's why we're having this conversation today. Okay. Then that bleeds out into, the office, the admin side of stuff. Insurance paperwork is mostly handled by, mishandled, misplaced. No one knows what the scope of work is. Scheduling is mostly correct, but changes do not get clearly relayed. Invoices go out, but follow-up is inconsistent. Okay. That's probably one of the biggest things that we suffer from. Silence creates stories. Okay. Customers usually write the wrong story in their heads, just like we do. Okay. Leadership sees issues, but do not correct them early enough. That's something that I've been guilty of myself. I see my team do it. And it's again, we start co-signing these little deficiencies, right? Nobody got hurt. We got through it. It only happened once. They were a difficult client, yada, yada, yada. Standards are implied, not documented, right? And that's where you have to document everything. Document the process, document the steps, document everybody's role. So that way everything is clear on what everybody's job's supposed to be and what happens when. And accountability depends on mood. Okay. And I'm guilty of that. I'll hold myself to a higher standard the days that I feel good. And it's definitely more difficult on the days that I don't feel so good. And I think that's human nature. Okay. So when the standard is fuzzy, almost right becomes normal. When we continuously allow these little things to continue to slip through the cracks, the message becomes very unclear. So what almost right actually cost, right now, moving from concept to consequences, first off, it's going to cost profit. Rework costs money. Okay. Callbacks cost money. Miscommunication costs money. Scope confusion costs money. Delays cost money. Bad handoffs cost money. Discounts to calm upset customers cost money. Sometimes you do not lose money because the job was hard. You lose money because the process was sloppy. Okay. Then trust. Homeowners do not judge only the roof. They judge the clarity. They judge the responsiveness. They judge the confidence. if they ever feel confused, okay, they start wondering what else we're missing. What else is being missed? Okay. Customers rarely say they were almost great. They either trust you or they don't trust you. That's the bottom line. Okay. I never got a 5-star review stating that they were only 3 days late. They put the wrong color shingles on, but they made it right. My sales rep never got back to me. I reached out to him 15 times, but the roof was great. 5-star. Nope, not happening. Not happening. Okay. Then it starts to affect the team morale. Okay. Small breakdowns create blame because nobody wants to get in trouble. Why? I don't know. Nobody wants to take the fault. Nobody wants to be held accountable. Nobody wants to admit they're wrong, which is BS. Right. So these small breakdowns start to create blame. Okay. Sales blames production. Production blames the office. Office blames sales. Leadership gets pulled into preventable drama. Okay. Confusion is expensive, but blame is even more expensive. Okay. And then it messes with the momentum. Every little mess steals attention. Every little bit, every little detail that you're missing, you're messing up, and that you don't feel is a very big deal steals my attention, steals leadership's attention, steals the service department attention. And then how about the guy that's got to run around and pick up all this stuff? If he's going back to the same job 15 different times because we got the wrong color this and short that and things are just very unclear. Almost right will keep the company busy, but not necessarily better. And I feel that, I felt that, I've done that, I've created that myself. And I'm going to tell you why teams fall into this trap. Okay. Speed. Everyone is moving fast. I get it. I expect them to. We need to have that sense of urgency. Everybody needs to be catered to at all times. We deal with the general public. I get it. We have things going on at home. Kids are sick, half days of school, all these things that life just happens, right? And then we're at work most of the time, but we're also trying to maintain, our home life as well too, and keep our significant other, happy and satisfied and present and all those things that we've talked about, right? And fast feels productive, but speed without clarity creates rework. And that's why I'm talking about, these few simple little things that we miss that add up. And it's usually the first 5 things that I mentioned, right? We get very familiar, we know our process so well that we assume, I think other people know. It becomes trivial. We think the people that we work with or that we're in charge of should know how things go. And we lack on details because we think it's obvious. Well, I told you to go over there and cut the trees. Well, that's what I did. I went over and cut trees. Yeah, well, but you didn't rake up all the dead branches and the leaves and then leaf blow it and make it look better than it was when you got there. You got to write the whole story out. You have to write out your expectations. Okay. And you start to skip steps because you feel like these things should just be obvious. Unfortunately, it's called work. And a lot of times you got to put a lot of work into the details if you want the job to go off without a hitch. Okay. Tolerance. Teams slowly normalize mess. Okay. It drives me crazy and it starts at the shop. How that shop looks drives me up the freaking wall. Okay. And it starts there, trickles out into the work vehicles, and then it trickles out onto the job sites. It does. I don't care what anybody says. What used to bother you no longer gets addressed. Okay. I'm assuming the shop being a mess no longer bothers anybody else but me. So just becomes normal. You step over stuff. The donuts sit there for 3 weeks. That was there ordered. It's a mess. It drives me freaking crazy that that's become normal. Okay. People stop taking ownership. It's the lack of ownership. Everyone touches it. No one wants to take full responsibility over it. Nobody wants to own it. Most process problems are not intelligent problems. They are ownership problems. People just need to take ownership. This whole "it's not my job" thing is BS. It's everyone's job to clean the shop. It's everyone's job to make sure that the customer's happy. It's everyone's job to make sure everyone gets home safely. It's everyone's job. I shouldn't have to assign one individual to make sure everyone's being safe. Unfortunately, you have to. Okay. And this is the thing. No one measures the hidden cost, right? We count revenue. We count closing rates. We count the jobs. We track our KPIs, right? But no one counts confusion. No one counts preventable callbacks. Do we count jobs that finished without creating a referral? Do we count the preventable callbacks? No, but these are things that we probably should start counting. There's an old saying, what is it? What gets tolerated gets repeated, and what gets repeated becomes culture. So a shithole shop is our culture. That's all the better we are. How to fix it? I don't know. Move from almost right to operational progress. I wanted to say excellence, but let's face it. No one or nothing is perfect. And I think if we're all kind of rowing in the right direction and we're trying to progress and we're meeting each other halfway and we're helping out, I think I could settle for, progress. So what does done right actually mean? I don't know. I guess I can give a couple examples here. So every sold job gets a same day handoff note. Every homeowner gets a pre-production walk, or at least a call. Every job has an arrival expectation set. Every change order gets documented. Every final walkthrough includes one clear ask for a review and a referral. Excellence, or progress rather, is not a vibe. It should be the standard. Progress is the standard, right? So we got to tighten up the handoffs. Most pain lives between departments. I see it. I watch it. We have a meeting every week between pros and ops. What actually does sales, owe production? Like what is production? What is production's expectations from the sales department? What exactly does production owe the office? What is that process? Defining these processes. What exactly does the office owe the customer? And a lot of these things aren't written down. A lot of these things, and for us it is, okay? And through trial and error and not painting the picture clear enough of like what job descriptions are, and the one thing that kind of irritates me sometimes, like when you ask someone to actually write out their job description and they take offense to that. They have no idea what it is that we're trying to do here. I'm not trying to say that you're not doing enough. What I'm trying to say is so I can write it down so we all have a clear idea of what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis and where your job overlaps. So then the other departments next to you that you overlap with will actually know what to expect from you. So what exactly does the leader inspect? Right? That is one of the biggest things. People come to expect what you inspect. Okay. Great companies do not just do work well, do not just do great work. They transfer work well. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of what it is I'm trying to say. We got to remove assumptions. Okay. Never assume the customer understands. The rep has to communicate it. The crew needs to know. The office needs to know. Someone else, I think that's the thing. Like, well, I thought you were going to take care of it. I thought you explained that well. Well, they've worked for us before, but not every job's the same. So we got to write out, we got to send pictures, we got to take photos, we got to write notes, we got to share these things, because I'm guilty of this. I am so guilty of thinking things are trivial because we do it all the time. We do it all the time. Assumption is one of the most expensive habits in business from my experience. Okay. So what we have to do sometimes, and we haven't talked about this for a while, but it's like auditing the customer journey. Walk the job as if you are the homeowner. Okay. And ask yourself the question. What did they hear first? What did the homeowner hear first? What do they know after signing? Do they know what to expect after they sign with us? Sam's going to send this out. You're going to click on this. We'll get your deposit. Materials will be ordered. And then in 3 days, we'll call you to schedule a job. Okay. And then what happens while they wait? Okay. What happens on build day? Who shows up? Who's the first face on job site? Is it your crew? Is it your leadership? They need to know this. We need to know this. Okay. And what happens when the job's finished? Who's there? Who's the last face on the job? Who's collecting final payment? Right. And it needs to be the same. Not like, okay, I'm going to, I don't feel like doing it today, so I'm just going to send it to Sam. Sam's just going to send the pay-per-click thing and da-da-da-da. Okay. With that comes uncertainty. Uncertainty for the homeowner. If we change our process up all the time because we just didn't feel like doing it based upon feelings for that day. Admin becomes uncertain. Our field team becomes uncertain. We got to make it clear. We need to stick to it. Okay. If I'm not here for a week and things need to change up, that's fine. I got plan B put in place. Right. But the customer experience is not what you meant. It is what they felt. Okay. Biggest thing is you got to fix reoccurring friction fast. If the same issue happens more than twice, it's not random anymore. It's a system issue. And I'd like to say it's either a system issue, process issue, or personnel issue. Okay, if it happens twice. Typically, you can find out really quick either one, but you got to have a system, you got to have a process, you got to have SOPs, you got to have KPIs to identify if it's a personnel issue or if it's a process issue. Okay, reoccurring friction is usually a process trying to tell you something. And that's why you have systems and processes put in place, right? Because when something's not going according to plan, is because the system usually wasn't followed. It becomes personnel issue. Okay. So I think a lot of good companies stay stuck. Okay. I know we have, because they keep giving themselves credit for almost right. And I get it. I freaking get it. Right. Everybody's busy. Everybody's under pressure. Everybody is trying to move 100 million freaking miles an hour. But if you want to really scale, if you want real margins, you want real referrals, real peace in business, okay, you have to stop celebrating survival and start demanding clarity. We need clarity. If there's someone in the organization right now that doesn't understand something, they need to speak up. Okay. So I've asked myself this question. I've asked our team members this question. Okay. And if you're out there and you're listening and you're a business owner, okay, where is your company, right? Where in your company are you tolerating almost right? Okay. Whether you own the company or you manage the department, or if you're just sitting there at your computer right now, you don't manage anything. That's yourself. Where in the company am I tolerating almost right? What steps get skipped? And it could be a coworker you're sitting next to right now. You know for a fact that they're skipping steps. Okay. When they get busy, you know it. You already know it's going to happen. You already know it. And I think everyone's afraid to step on other people's toes, but I think sometimes we need not necessarily, you don't need to tell anybody, but you yourself need to confront that person. Like, look, you're going to affect me, not only me, but the entire company, because you continuously skip these steps when I know you get busy all the time. Okay. And typically your coworkers see these things a lot sooner than your leadership team. Okay. Where does your team have to fill in the blanks? Okay. What problem keeps reappearing? Okay. That you still call a one-off. I know you know it. Okay. The future of your company is hiding inside the little things you keep excusing. Okay. I've done it. Okay. So know this, because I've tried. You don't have to fix every little thing today. Okay. But you do need to stop pretending that small misses are harmless. Okay. Big companies are not built by avoiding disaster alone. Okay. They are built by eliminating drag. They are built by making the handoff cleaner, the communication tighter. Not even large company, any company. The expectations are clear. The follow-up is stronger. They are built by refusing to live in almost right. Okay. So pick one place in your business this week where almost right has become normal and fix it. Not someday, this week, today. Okay. Because every time you tighten one weak spot, you buy back profit, trust, and momentum. Okay. That is the cost of almost right. And that is why details matter more than people think. Okay. So it may not look like failure in the moment, but over time it steals trust, profit, and momentum. So this week, I know I'm going to find one area in your business where good enough has become normal and fix it. Thanks for listening to Behind the Tool Belt. Share this with your teammates, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks to our sponsors, TC Backer Construction, Hook Roofing Marketing, Roofle, and Project Map It. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. We are streaming on all major platforms. See you next week for another episode of Behind the Tool Belt.